Hey everyone, it's me, Matt. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing great, and I hope you're ready to garden with me today because in today's video, we're planting tomato plants as well as some companion plants. So let's get into it. All right, spinning you around, you can see we're in my backyard, standing in my fruit and vegetable garden area. As you can see, I've picked up 4 tomato plants from the garden center. Taking a closer look at this first variety here, this is an heirloom variety called red beefsteak. This is a vigorous growing tomato plant, and it produces giant, meaty tomatoes great for slicing. The second tomato plant variety I've got here is a hybrid called Better Boy. It was specially developed for its flavor and disease resistance. This variety is also a vigorous grower that produces large slicing tomatoes too. The third plant variety I picked up is called Bonnie's Original. This tomato plant is known for its rich tomato flavor, high productivity, and disease resistance, and like the other two, it produces large slicing tomatoes as well. And then the last plant variety I picked up is this husky cherry red tomato. This is a compact growing plant that produces sweet 1 inch size fruit perfect for snacking. Also, all of these plants are indeterminate varieties, meaning they continuously produce fruit throughout the growing season, versus determinate varieties that produce large concentrated crops of tomatoes all at once. I always grow indeterminate varieties so I can harvest tomatoes throughout the season, but if you're wanting to can or preserve your tomatoes, you should definitely grow determinate varieties. Moving on to my companion plants now, I'll also be sowing some basil and nasturtium seeds. Looking at the basil seeds first, basil is the best companion plant for tomatoes. It's said that basil plants enhance tomato plants' growth and flavor. Basil plants also produce aromatic oils that help repel nuisance insects like aphids, whiteflies, and hornworms. Companion planting with basil is a form of natural pest control that reduces the need for chemical pesticides. And then looking at the nasturtium seeds, nasturtiums are also beneficial when planted in the vegetable garden. They also act as a natural pest deterrent, attracting aphids away from your tomatoes and other vegetables. On the flip side, they also attract beneficial insects like ladybugs and hoverflies, which help control garden pests, and their beautiful flowers attract a wide variety of pollinators like bees and butterflies. And then, really quick, I also picked up some white alyssum plants to plant around my tomato plants. Their sweet fragrance and nectar rich blooms will also attract pollinators into my tomato garden area. So, starting with planting the tomatoes, I've got some Miracle-Gro garden soil and garden tone fertilizer to amend my planting holes with. And I've also got these 4 metal tomato cages that'll help support my tomato plants as they grow and mature. So, let's get these plants in the ground, and then we'll sow the basil and nasturtium seeds and plant the white alyssum. So first things first, you want to pick out a sunny location in your garden. This area of my garden works great since it gets bright afternoon sun. So after placing the plants, I dig my 4 holes for my tomato plants. Each hole is about twice the size of the nursery containers. I then amend each planting hole with some Miracle-Gro garden soil and some garden tone fertilizer, making sure to mix everything really well. I then plant each of the plants at a diagonal, burying the lower part of each of their stems. This allows the plants to develop a larger and stronger root system, giving them the ability to absorb more nutrients and water. Planting this way also provides better stability for these plants as more roots grow out of the buried portion of their stems. Next, I place my tomato cages on top of each of the plants. This gives my tomato plants something to climb on as they settle into their new homes. And then lastly, I water all my tomato plants in thoroughly. So there we go, the first part of this project is done. I'm so excited to have tomatoes back in my garden. You can see all of these plants are spaced about 18 inches apart, giving enough room for them to grow and spread, and leaving enough room around their bases for the companion plants. Moving on to my companion plants, I'm going to start with my basil seeds. I'm going to sow about 4 or 5 seeds in between my tomato plants toward the back of the garden bed. I amend each planting area with some pre-moistened Miracle-Gro seed starting mix. Next, I place my basil seeds in each of the planting areas and then cover them with about 1/4 of an inch of soil. The seed starting mix has a finer texture that aids in germination and seedling root development, and it should take about 5 to 10 days for these basil seeds to germinate. Moving on to the nasturtium seeds next, I'm going to follow a similar process, except I started by soaking these seeds overnight. Soaking them softens their seed coat, making it easier for them to germinate. So I'm going to plant the nasturtiums toward the front of the garden bed using 4 seeds per planting area. I'm also using the pre-moistened Miracle-Gro seed starting mix, making sure each seed is planted about 1/2 inch deep, and it should take about 7 to 10 days for these seeds to germinate. Lastly, I'm tucking the white alyssum plants in along the front of the garden bed. I'm planting them closer to the edge of the walkway because I want them to cascade over the brick barrier onto the paver walkway. You can see I amended the planting holes with some garden soil as well as some granular slow release fertilizer, and then I wrapped up by watering them all in thoroughly. So there we go, this entire garden bed has been transformed. I'm going to make sure all of these plants get regular water, and I'll definitely make sure my basil and nasturtium seeds are kept evenly moist until they germinate. I'm really excited to have these 4 tomato plant varieties in my garden this season, and I can't wait to see which one performs the best. So aside from regular water, I also recommend mulching around the base of your tomato plants. Mulching helps the soil retain moisture and it helps suppress weeds. You can see I've got a lot of pine needle mulch in this bed already, but in about a week or so, once the tomato plants put on a little more size, I'm going to mulch right around their bases with some straw mulch. I also suggest that you prune the lower leaves off your tomato plants to help improve air circulation and prevent disease as they grow bigger and taller. That will be especially important as the Florida humidity ramps up later on this season. Overall, I'm really excited that I tackled this planting project today, and I can't wait until I'm able to harvest some tomatoes later on this year. And then one last thing I wanted to mention, if you deal with slugs or snails in your garden like I do, I suggest you proactively sprinkle some Captain Jack's bug and slug killer around your tomato plants. This will help stop any problems before they start, and the best part, this product is safe to use in organic gardens. So hopefully I've inspired you to plant up a variety of tomato plants in your garden. I know I'm probably ahead of most of you who live outside of Florida because I really don't have a winter here, but hopefully you've gotten some ideas for your upcoming spring planting projects. So that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't already done so, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons so you can hang out with me in future videos. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.